There are some days I just absolutely love being a YouTuber. Just wait until you see what I found. I need the governor of Pennsylvania and its legislature to turn around and interlace their fingers behind their head because they are busted. Oh, are they busted? I found something on the internet that you guys are just not going to believe. It has to do with these mail-in ballots, and it gives up the game. They violated their own constitution. And if a judge sees this, it's over. For Pennsylvania, it is over. I have said before, and I'll say it again, oh, what a difference a governor makes. You see, they tried this in Florida, and it failed. They don't want people to look at the numbers in Florida. They tried it in Florida, and it failed. It failed because Governor DeSantis replaced the election supervisors in Broward and Palm Beach. And they flipped out about that, but no such thing happened in Pennsylvania. You see, Governor Wolf, he's the virus. He's the problem. Now, what am I talking about? I dug up an old article from mcall.com. And guys, wait until you read this. You're not going to believe it. Your Pennsylvania election questions answered. Do I need a mail-in ballot? Why is this so complicated? Now here's the date. 5 September 2020. Written by Tom Shortell. See, he didn't realize what he was doing here. He didn't realize what he was doing. Let's read. The morning call is tackling questions Pennsylvania voters may encounter between now and Election Day. Do I need an absentee ballot or a mail-in ballot? You see, this is the big lie the mainstream media has been trying to put out. Oh, that's the same thing. There's really functionally no difference. Oh, but there is. And it's in this article. I just can't. I'm so excited to read this. I just got to get to it. For the average Pennsylvania voter, there are two ways to vote without entering a polling place: absentee ballots and mail-in ballots. Now you may ask, why would a person not want to enter a polling place? Well, September of 2020, of course, we knew the coronavirus. That's very reasonable. They try to hide it here, but they do a poor job. From a practical perspective, there's little difference between them. Voters request them in advance of the election, fill out the ballots, and either send them to their county election office in the mail or drop them off in person. The difference between the two is the circumstances when a voter is allowed to use one or the other. Absentee ballots are specifically for residents who will be away from their home on Election Day, or those who have a physical disability or illness that prevents them from getting to the polling place. Some acceptable excuses include students attending college away from home, a malady that prevents a voter from leaving their home, a malady that prevents a voter from leaving their home. See, this is the key. One of the keys, actually. Meaning like corona. So people with coronavirus or afraid of coronavirus could have requested an absentee ballot. That's a ballot that has their name already pre-printed on it. Okay, that's important to remember here. Traveling for a vacation or business trip, a religious obligation that prevents a voter from getting to the polls. Now, remember, this is September 2020. While COVID-19 poses a serious health threat to voters, having concerns about the coronavirus alone is not a qualifying reason for an absentee ballot. That's interesting. See, having a concern about it isn't. Being diagnosed is, having a concern is not. However, voters who are receiving inpatient treatments in a hospital or are isolating because they are contagious with the disease would qualify for an absentee ballot. Now you think, okay, they've got it covered, right? They've got it covered. Absentee ballots can be sent to people who are isolating because of COVID. Now, the 2020 election cycle introduced a new option for voters. Now, here's where you've got to pay attention to the details. A 2019 law created mail-in ballots, which allow voters to cast ballots by mail without having to provide an excuse. Voters who want to avoid long lines, are nervous about the coronavirus, or for any other number of reasons can get a mail-in ballot. Wait a minute, hold on. Back the truck up. Beep, beep, beep. 2019 law? When did coronavirus arrive? January, February of 2020? Of 2020. Why would they have had to pass a law in 2019 because of the coronavirus that wasn't here yet? Why would they have had to pass a law creating a mail-in ballot that's different from an absentee? An absentee would have covered COVID. To create mail-in ballots. Now, it goes on. See, they asked the question here, and boy, I tell you what, there are going to be liberals that see this, and they're like, oh man, why didn't this guy just stop there? Why wouldn't the state combine these into one ballot? It seems needlessly complicated, unless you're trying to cheat. The Pennsylvania Constitution grants voters the right to an absentee ballot only under specific circumstances. Now remember, that includes things like COVID. Changing those rights, such as expanding it to eligible voters without requiring a recognized excuse, would require a constitutional amendment. That's easier said than done. Except in extremely unusual circumstances, proposed amendments need to pass the state legislature in 2 consecutive terms and then pass a voter referendum. It's a time-consuming process that requires elected officials and voters to reach a consensus and maintain it by using regular legislation. State officials approved mail-in ballots in time for the presidential election cycle to accomplish that without running afoul of the Constitution. However, they needed to keep absentee ballots as a separate entity. Oops. Now, isn't Pennsylvania the place where Biden said he considers himself like a third senator or something like that? They're busted. They are busted. Second article, mcall.com, 25 September 2020. This one was, let me see if I get this right. I think it was earlier. Hold on. September 5. So now, 20 days later, how do I sign my mail-in ballot, and what's a naked ballot? The most important part of this article is this, guys. Scroll down to here and read. There's a ballot that goes inside an envelope that goes inside yet another envelope and gets mailed in. Okay? Here's an image of that. Okay? Instructions. Here's the actual ballot. This ballot goes inside this envelope, and then this envelope goes inside this envelope, and this one gets signed. Now, here's the important part. The outer envelope is the only part of the package getting mailed back that should bear a signature. The secrecy envelope and ballot must not be marked with any personal identifying information on it. Meaning, once again, they are blank, unverifiable ballots mailed out in the mail to just about anyone, anywhere. And they did this in 2019. Here is the proof of this. Governor Wolf signs historic election reform bill, including new mail-in voting, 31 October 2019, circumvening their own constitution. Why? So they can cheat. Coronavirus hadn't arrived yet, guys. See, there's all sorts of liberals out there going, they have to have mail-in ballots. We had to have that system because of coronavirus. We had to keep people at home and it would have caused an outbreak. They passed the law 31 October 2019, months before the first reported infections in this country. That is literally the clinical definition of busted. Busted. They were planning on cheating and stealing this election in the states long before coronavirus, using this fraudulent mail-in system. And that's why Governor DeSantis dismissed those election supervisors. Dismissed one and accepted the resignation of another. Let me be very accurate. This is why local governance is the only answer, guys. This is why local governance, conservatism, and morality, it has to start at your county level. It has to be regional, and then it has to work its way up. That's why they couldn't pull this in Texas and Florida. Believe me, they tried. They failed. Why do you think months ahead they're saying all these so-called red states were in play? Because they already had the fix in. And the president knew. The president knew about it. And he talked about it. You see, that's the thing. They can't explain why they needed the mail-in system. Because we showed clearly in the article from MCall that absentee ballots would have been mailed out to people based on coronavirus. Could you just say, oh, I'm just kind of afraid of it. I'm not sick at all. No. But the law was passed in 2019, before there was any such thing as coronavirus. So you can't make the allegation that's why they had to create the system. They created the system to cheat. And what do we see as a result? What do we see as a result? Let's scroll down to fraud state, Pennsylvania. 2004, 5.7 million votes. 2008, 5.9 million votes. 2012, 5.6 million votes. 2016, 5.8 million votes. Pretty predictable. Up 1.5%, down 2%, up 2%. That's normal. But after they pass a law violating their own constitution, 6.6, almost 6.7 million votes, up 787,000. Even though they lost 100,000 people in their population. And it makes perfect sense why you would have a law stating absentee ballots only under a certain circumstance. Ask yourself that question. Ask the liberal friends that question. Why would there have ever been any restrictions on absentee ballots in the first place? Why would they have said only under these certain circumstances? Why would they have ever said that? Because fraud. See, the reason absentee ballots have restrictions is to prevent fraud. You create a system like it, but take away all the restrictions, you take away the fraud protections. It's just that logical. Even a liberal could understand this. Even a liberal can understand this. And here's the article from a liberal outlet, mcall.com. I'll give you both these links. You can read them and share them. Ask them the question, why? You see, their first response is going to be, well, 2020 was one of those different years because, coronavirus and people had to have the ability to mail. Show them the law was passed months and months before coronavirus even showed up. Months and months before coronavirus even showed up. Ask them then, why would that have been necessary? Why would that have been necessary? The fix was already in. The fix was in a long time ago. And that's what they don't want you to know. That's what they're really hiding. They don't want people doing their homework. The devil is always in the details. And they are busted. Like, share, subscribe.